Hello, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Julie Busby, and thanks for joining us. This is, I don't even know what edition this is of our Coast to Coast series. This is a fun series where we highlight our favorite people and brokers around the country. I keep saying this is the great reshuffle where people are getting second homes, moving back to where they were originally from, or just enjoying life a little bit better. So that brings me to our latest edition. And today I'm super excited because this is a fun one. This is Mara Walsh, and she is part of the Busby Group team. She's a sales partner of mine in Chicago, but she also has a second home and runs a business in Michigan as well. So super excited. So Mara, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on today.
Of course. So, share a little bit because I know you're in Michigan, but I know you cover a few regions there. It would be great just to share where you live personally in Michigan and the areas that you sell in the Michigan area.
Okay, absolutely. Well, thanks again for having me on. So I actually live in Sawyer, Michigan, which is in Southwest Michigan, about an hour and a half from the city. We've owned properties here in the area, Union Pier, New Buffalo. You're probably familiar with those for over 12 years. And little after 2022, we decided to downsize Chicago. We lived in Andersonville. We decided to upsize in Michigan. So I've really been here and know the area again for over probably 15 years now. And we love it. It's a wonderful place to be. I also do focus, I'm not sure if you're aware, Julie, but I do focus on Indiana too. So there's that Michiana area. I also focus on that too.
Yes, and one of my favorites is Long Beach,
Yes.
Indiana. I love that. We had a dear friends of a family home there, and it's just phenomenal. It reminds me almost of California because the beaches are so big and
Yeah.
your view is just impressive. So, no, it's great that you're licensed in both places. I will share a little story that I fell in love with Union Pier because of Mara. She was kind enough to let Justin and I stay, and our girls stay in their home that they lived in before they bought their new home a few years ago, and we just absolutely fell in love with it. If Chicagoans listening have not made a venture out to that region of Michigan, we strongly recommend it. It's about an hour and a half away from the city, and it's a different world. It's peaceful, it's amazing, and we fell in love. So anyway, so I just thought I'd share a little fun story there too. So tell us a little bit. I know your background, of course, but share with us how you started your career and then how you ended up in real estate and
Sure.
where
So
you
I
are.
started in sales and marketing. So I've been in sales and marketing for aging myself over 20 plus years, and moved to Chicago when I was, 23. Started with a
Mhm.
technology company there. So basically, I started my career in real estate. However, in 2022 or 2020, I apologize, following a 25-year sales career with a focus on technology and consulting. And then Julie and I met through a local children's organization, became quick friends. So when I decided to change careers, it made perfect sense to join Busby Group and Julie, and it just seemed like a perfect fit, and it has been.
Awesome. Well, good. And then you got licensed in Michigan. Was it like 2021? Does that sound right?
A little over a year and a half ago. Yeah, a little over a
Okay.
year and a half. Mhm.
Okay, perfect. And share what you think your niche might be that I mean, I know you're licensed in both places, but maybe you want to dive into that a little bit deeper for those who might be looking for a second home out there or a
Sure,
full-time residence.
absolutely. There's a lot of brokers here. I think it sets me apart is that I am a Michigan agent from Chicago. So I understand what Chicago buyers are looking for. And I also understand the level of service they're expecting. So I bring that here to Michigan from my experience in Chicago and working with Busby Group. I've also owned a home here, as I mentioned, for over 15 years. And so I know the area very, very well. I also like to do a lot of the preview and legwork for my clients so that if you see something you like, I immediately will go out, I will take a video, I will FaceTime you, and then we will jointly decide if it makes sense for you to drive up here. For you to drive up here an hour and a half to see one home, it might not make the most sense.
Sure.
Drop every city. However, if in fact I actually go see it, I know what you're looking for, and I can say, here's your criteria, and this home meets let's say 7 out of 10, I think you need to drive up. So that's the way I like to
Right.
approach it with my, and it seems to, it's so far, it's worked really, really well.
That's awesome. That's really helpful, especially for everyone in Chicago. We all know we have a busy lifestyle. Sometimes it's hard to get out of the city. So that's amazing. And it does, quite honestly, I was looking for a home in Michigan, and it really helps to have someone, like you said, that has the service level that we're used to in Chicago and the knowledge of what a Chicagoan might be looking for. So that's wonderful. So tell us what you touched on, that you're in Indiana, so you can help with Michiana,
Yep.
Long Beach. What other regions do you tend to help in, or cities in that region that you tend to focus on?
Sure. So a lot of folks typically like to go just right up the coast of Michigan. So typically it's New Buffalo, Union Pier, Lakeside, Harbert. Then you get into Sawyer, where I am, Stevensville, South Haven is an example. I'm sure you know Grand Haven. So I really go all the way up to Grand Haven, and
Oh,
that's where I
great.
felt. I have a lot of partners that will go further north. I also go inland now. There's a lot, because it's been difficult and very competitive, as you know, up here and everywhere. A lot of folks are saying, I don't have to be within 2 minutes or 5 minutes from the beach. I'm okay driving 10 minutes. So
Sure.
there's one areas like Three Oaks, as an example, Berrien Springs, Baroda, where all the vineyards and wineries are. So lots
Mm.
of other that are more inland. And I'm finding a lot of folks from Chicago are willing to go that extra 5, 8, 10 miles to be in this area, but knowing that it's just a quick drive to the water
And have land, right?
and have land. Exactly. Good. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember you and I, we went and visited a mutual friend, an attorney friend of ours, and they were in Three Oaks, and they had a lot of land and a pool, and it was peaceful, but you're still 7-minute drive to the beach. So
Yeah.
that's
Yep.
really neat.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit more about the marketplaces. We kind of touched on it. If you go inland, you might get a little more land. By the coast, what can you expect? Yeah, I guess a few highlights of what people are loving about the area.
Sure. I mean, to your point, obviously land is key. So you do have access to a lot more land up here. You have the dunes, both Indiana dunes. You have Warren Dunes, which for me is, gosh, probably 2 minutes away. It's a quick drive with
Wow.
my morning. And then it's
Amazing.
gorgeous. Not only you have the beautiful dunes, but you have the water, and it's over 100 miles of just beauty. I think it's just has its own vibe up here. To be honest, you get up here and you escape the city. You can actually. It's the only place. My husband always laughs. He's like, "Wow, you're actually taking a nap. I've never seen you take a nap."
Mm,
When
love
I
that.
come, I actually can nap. I read. I don't read as much in the city, to be honest. I hate to say
Yeah.
that, but the hustle and the bustle and it's always busy up here, you unwind. I also think it's lately, I think because some people have moved up to this area, the service levels have improved. There are more restaurants, the
Mm,
dining, there are, the breweries, the vineyards. There's now Uptown Social, where they actually have concerts. In Three Oaks, they have concerts. I went to see the
neat.
Bodine long ago. You have the casinos. Not that I go to the casinos, but they have concerts there, so it's quite fun.
Cool.
They've made it more for Chicagoans, and so many Chicagoans have either bought homes here during the pandemic or even prior to, and then so many are actually moving up here and making this their primary residence. So a lot has changed, and it's
Mm,
really catered to Chicagoans.
that's very cool. So tell us, I mean, I'm hearing about it. I'm sure a lot of people tuning in have been hearing about it, that it has been a bit competitive there. What is
Yeah.
the environment now? And as I ask this question, I'll tell you what it is, February 2023. So, I don't know when people are going to be watching this, but what is the temperature of the marketplace now? Is it still multiple offers, low inventory?
You
What's
know,
going on?
Yeah, great question. I feel like Chicago, or Chicago is kind of going through very similar status and point where basically I feel like spring has sprung. It's upon us. Um,
Yeah.
the past 2 weeks, I've seen a lot more inventory. I will say there are some price points. You get above the 1.5, things are sitting a little bit longer. You get into the 3 to maybe 7, 8, and you're getting multiple offers. There's actually a lovely property that came on the market in Union Pier, just a few steps to the water, and actually 18 offers. Eight,
No.
yes. I was like, are you kidding me? So
Oh my
18
gosh.
this last weekend. So I have not seen that in probably 6 months. So I do think that there are more properties coming on the market. I think that inventory was low. It still is low, but I do think we're going to be in for a very busy spring and a very busy summer. So in Michigan, as you can imagine, spring market just follows and kind of lags just a little bit after Chicago because of the fact basically people start coming up here after like spring break, right? They start spending more time up here, coming up here for okay, spring breaks and then going into summers. And then that's when it really picks up here in the Michigan area. Julie?
Sorry, I had to mute myself. My kids are home. It's the joys of Zoom meetings these days. So I didn't want it to be noisy while you were chatting. Um,
Oh, but
so anyways, no, that was super helpful.
good.
Okay. So what advice do you give someone? Because like you said, I feel we're seeing people wanting a second home in Michigan, but we're also seeing some people have been making it their primary residence.
Correct.
So what advice would you give someone who's listening who's thinking of buying either
Okay.
second or primary? And then also any advice that you might have for some sellers out there as well.
Yeah, actually, from a buyer's standpoint, I would say let's start searching now. Let's set up a search. Let's talk about your criteria. Let's better understand, make sure you understand the area. So if it makes sense to come up here and do just an hour and a half little drive all the way up the coastline and then taking that a little inland just so you can familiarize yourself more with the area, that could be very, very helpful. I'm happy to do that anytime. But I would say now's the time to look. Let's set up a search. Let's see what's on the market. Let's narrow our search once we identify what areas you want to focus in on and allow me to do the legwork. Again, I'm willing and able and up here about 70% of the time. I can make the quick drive too if I'm not. And I also have a wonderful partner that can also preview properties, take videos, etc. So now is probably the best time to get started. As it relates to sellers, I think the time is now as well. We still have low inventory, as I mentioned. I think a lot of folks that purchased up here in the COVID timeframe are realizing that maybe I'm not spending as much time, right? My kids are back in school, my kids are back in sports, they're on traveling teams, and I think now is the time to sell because of the low inventory. I would say sooner than later.
So would you mind touching on this? Because you and I chatted a little bit ago about all the exciting things. I know we touched on some of it. You
Yeah,
were chatting about the express train coming and some
yeah,
other exciting things that are coming that others may not know. If you could
yeah,
share some of that too, because that is exciting too, because touching on now is the time. I think once those things are implemented, the market's even going to be busier there.
agree.
So it is good for buyers to go now. And with sellers, like you said, inventory still low. So anyways, it is, I think it's a healthy market or healthier market. And things are coming. So it'd be good to hear some of the things that are coming as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I'll touch on a few things specifically to Michigan. So, as you come into Michigan, specifically like Union Pier and all the way up to Sawyer, they've actually put in sidewalks all the way along Red Arrow. So it's wonderful. You can bike, you can actually, walk with your kids to restaurants. So they're making everything a lot more accessible, which is really key to families when they are here. You're getting more of the beach back. So in a lot of areas, it's cyclical up here in the Michigan area, as it is everywhere, and you are actually getting more beach. So that's wonderful too.
That's
And
great. So you are
yeah,
seeing more beach now.
we are seeing more beaches. Yes, again,
Good.
it's very, but we definitely are. In addition, there's the new bike trail that's from Chicago directly all the way up through to Southwest Michigan, which is wonderful. So if you're a biker, one spouse could drive up with kiddos, the other spouse could actually bike up. And specifically to your point, Julie, about the high-speed train, that's actually directly into Michigan City. So high-speed train, Michigan City, I think it's like a 45-minute, maybe 50. So it's like going to the suburbs, to be honest. You can park your car there. It's a brand new platform that's opening this spring. They're actually building condos right downtown. They're taking down the power plants. So from Michigan City all the way up through, Grand Haven, it's just this wonderful opportunity from an investment standpoint, whether it's commercial downtown and commercial properties here in Southwest Michigan, so many opportunities because you're really catering now to that Chicago market. In
Right.
addition, VRBO standpoint and Airbnb, majority now, with the exception New Buffalo and a few other areas, are not necessarily Airbnb and VRBO friendly. I think the townships and cities are kind of fighting that right now. But majority of the communities in the area do welcome VRBOs and also Airbnbs. So it's a great area to invest in and have, be able to use the home, but also be able to rent that out as well.
Wow. So 2 points that you said that I want to make sure I highlight. One is that smokestack. Everyone knows that smokestack when they come, to Long Beach or wherever along the coast that they see that smokestack. And so that is going away. Are they leaving it there and making it like historic?
So, from my understanding, again, there's lots of conversations. This is not a 2-year plan. Okay,
Oh,
this
of
is probably
course. Right.
a year plan, and
Right.
there's still, but a number of the power plants along the water will be coming down. Again,
Wow.
some to keep portions, as you were stating, and make them landmarks. I think others are saying, do we really need that as a landmark? Let's opportunities. So I think they're still in discussion, but there's just so much happening in this area, and specifically with that high speed train, it just makes it so much easier to commute back and forth.
Oh, yeah. And then something else you touched on was the VRBO, and I'm so happy you did because that is a hot topic. And what my advice would be is to make sure you are chatting with Mara and or an expert in the area like Mara, because you want to make sure don't just go directly to the listing broker because you're not going to know the ins and outs, and they may not tell you, hey, this isn't an area that can allow VRBO. So make sure you're working with an expert like Mara who knows that and can help advise you in the right direction, especially if you're not going to be living there full time and want to at least get some income from the property. So, because I know it's kind of tricky there, making sure it's allowed.
It's really tricky because you'll have, as an example, New Buffalo City, you cannot, but in New Buffalo Township, which includes Union Pier, you can rent. So it's
Wow.
very Bridgman City, you cannot. So you really do have to know. And I reach
Yeah.
out to regardless, I reach out to the broker immediately on the areas where I know that there are discussions underway,
Yeah.
about these and also VRBOs, short-term rentals just in general. So I always reach out directly to the broker. I have a conversation, and then I actually follow up the township. So
Good. Good. Amazing. Okay. Well, any other advice or tips or exciting things about the market that you want to share before I go into the fun round robin?
oh god. No, just spring is sprung, and let's. If you're looking to buy, reach out. If you're looking to sell, reach out. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Again, I'm in Chicago as well. I'm back and forth a lot, so happy to meet you in Chicago over coffee, whatever works for you.
Great. All right, perfect. Well, I always end these on I called it a red robin, but it's a round robin. It's actually a rapid fire. Sorry. So what I do now is I kind of throw some fun questions at you and just whatever comes to your mind. So first, what is your favorite restaurant in your Michigan marketplace?
Well, it's a new restaurant, and it is actually across the street. It used to
Oh
be
my gosh.
Peasant. Yeah, it's right across the street, right across Red Arrow for me. So Peasant's Pantry is still there, which is basically a lunch and brunch kind of to go. And now they've opened up a lounge, a cocktail lounge with food as
Oh,
well. There is amazing. They brought in a great chef. So Peasant's Pantry, in addition to the Historian, is the name of the restaurant.
oh, cool. Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And what's your favorite place to go visit that's within an hour and a half or 2 hour drive from you now?
Oh my gosh, so many. That's hard. That's a really hard one. I love Grand Haven. I love
Mm.
Ludington. Took my first RV trip with our dogs, with our dogs and my son and my husband. It was a great trip. So Ludington State Park is really, really amazing too.
Oh, that's cool. And then lastly, what would you be doing if you weren't doing real estate?
I would be traveling. I think I would travel first, the United States, and I'd want to do that with my dogs. They could come with us, and my son, if he's not, he'll be in college. But my husband and I would love to just travel the U.S. first, so our dogs can join us, and then we would. There's so many places outside that we'd like to travel to as well. But that would be starting local and then going international.
Awesome. Well, I'll come with you. Way to
Thank you.
go. Anyways, well, thank you so much for your time, Mara. Super exciting that Mara's at Busby Group in Chicago and also able to help our clients and friends in Michigan and Indiana as well. So thank you for your time. We'll make sure we share all of your information with everyone, and this will be a fun series for everyone to watch. So thank you again.
Okay, bye-bye.
Talk soon.